Welcome to our second virtual Digital Inclusion Alliance Wales meeting. I'm Kath Fallon. For those who don't know me, I'm Vice Chair of the Alliance and also Head of Enterprise and Community Animation, Monmouthshire County Council. I'm standing in for Hamish Lang today, who is our chair and is actually on annual leave. So before we go any further, I'm actually going to pass you over to Mike Erskine, who's our PR and Events Officer for the Wales Cooperative Centre, who's actually going to talk us through the remote platform and hopefully save us all if disaster looms. So thanks, Mike.
Hiya, Kath. Thanks. You can stay there, Kath. Oh no, she's gone already. She's quite.
No,
she's back. Yeah, don't leave me on my own, Kath. So yeah, hi everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm Mike Erskine, PR and Events Officer at the Wales Cooperative Centre. Yeah, so work across a variety of different projects and programmes, including Digital Communities Wales, and supporting the Digital Inclusion Alliance and this network event today. So yeah, delighted that we can be hosting it on a new platform. A platform, I say new, it's a platform that we've been using at the Wales Cooperative Centre for the last 18 months now, and we're just looking for new and different digital platforms that we can engage with our audiences, with our clients, and we've really found that this is really helping people to get over that bit of that Zoom fatigue sometimes you feel, and that fatigue you have sometimes with just watching and being a passive participant. We really hope Remo can really help to sort of make you feel like an active participant in the event. And I think today is a really perfect setup for utilising all what Remo has to offer. So we've got the stuff which the main presentations will happen on the main stage here today. And then what we are going to be doing is having some breakout stuff around the tables. So some breakout table discussions. I think we've got one at 20 to 3, and then we've got another one at 10 past 3. So we'll be going back to the floor, which you when you first arrived into the room, you arrived onto a randomly allocated table. I don't know if you all tried it out, but when you are on those tables, you are very free to go and move to the other tables. Not to say if you're not getting on with anyone on your table, but if you just want to mix it up and go and speak with others, you can do a simple double click of a button. So when you're on those tables, just find a spare seat, just like you would in a physical event. If you see a spare seat, go and grab it, and you can do that by a simple double click of the button. If you are having any audio or camera issues, then obviously please let me know. But there is also, and I posted it in, if you scroll back in the general chat, you'll see at the beginning, I did a little bit of a troubleshooting guide I've put a link to. So if you are having any problems, then please look at that. There is a little bit of like one of these sort of Homer Simpson tips where it is just literally just do a refresh on your browser, and it sometimes fixes those glitches. So just try that out first of all. But there are a couple of tips there if you are having any trouble. And again, I'm here all day today as well. So as some of you have already tried to post in the general chat by just saying hello, that general chat goes to the whole room. So you can post messages in there, post links in there, share any files. You've also got your table chat as well. So when you are having those discussions, you can put messages or post stuff into that table chat. And also you've got private chat. So you can make those sorts of one-to-one connections as well, people that you may be familiar with or not familiar with. And you can even upload your LinkedIn profile. So you can make those instant connections with one another here today. So I think, Kath, that probably goes through a lot of what we're going to have here today. We are recording this or everything that happens on the main stage. The beauty of Remo is that when we are on the main stage, all of your cameras and mics are automatically switched off. So you can just sit back and relax for this part. We do have a Q&A up here. So I don't know if someone wants to put in a question there just to test that out, but we've got a Q&A tab there. So when we're on the main stage, if you've got any questions for our speakers, please post them into the Q&A, and Kath will keep an eye on that, and we can ask those to each of our presenters afterwards before we go back to the main tables. Looks like we've got a shy bunch, Kath. There's no questions that have gone into
so
there.
Far.
So we're fine. I normally put, what is your favourite football team? Kath, do you have a favourite football team?
I don't actually, no, sorry. My husband supports Everton, but we're not allowed to talk about that at the moment, I don't think.
Oh, right. Well, there we go. They had a good
season.
they had a good result the other day, so you must be in a good mood this week. Brilliant. So I'll leave you to that, Kath, and I think you're going to introduce our first speaker guest to the stage then.
Thanks, Mike. That's great. So welcome, everybody. I'm just really going to give you a quick update since we all met last. The steering group members have been meeting as subgroups to move forward the 5 priority areas. And just to remind everybody, priority 1 obviously is embedding digital inclusion across all sectors, which is why we're all here today. But priority 2, looking at mainstreaming digital inclusion in health and social care. Priority 3, looking at addressing data poverty as a key issue. Priority 4, which we're actually going to talk about in a bit more detail today. And then priority 4 then is prioritising digital skills. Priority 5 is looking at setting a new minimum digital living standard and adopting co-production approaches. So we've actually developed some mini action plans, which we're actually going to use to identify next steps for each of the priorities. But importantly, we really need your help to ensure we're moving forward in the right way. So in terms of today's meeting, we'll be discussing, as I said, priority 4 in a bit more detail. And Simon Cromwell, who is actually, going to be from the steering group, is actually going to give us an update on that later on. So we're really keen for you to let us know if you identify any particular gaps, particularly in terms of current initiatives, and if what we're doing is the right thing in order to move that priority forward. So we'd also like you to consider what we can do collectively as an alliance to support our colleagues in this area, but also other action plans from the different priority groups will be shared as we move forward. So this is very much the first one really to discuss today. As a steering group, we've also sort of agreed that we'll have separate landing pages on the Digital Inclusion Alliance Wales website for each of those priorities. So in future, if you want to dip in and out of those, and please, sort of keep letting us know of any changes that you want us to make. So just to run you through the format for today, and I think Mike is looking to put the agenda up on the screen as well. So first of all, we're going to be hearing from Sam Alley, who's the Digital Projects Manager at Newport City Council. And Sam's going to talk to us about the digital skills activities being delivered in Newport. Hannah Bacon's going to join us, and Hannah's the Digital and Innovation Officer for WCVA. And Hannah's going to talk to us about the work of NEWITH, which is an upcoming programme of digital skills. And then after Sam and Hannah's presentation, we're going to be breaking out onto those roundtables for those discussion, where you can actually start sharing your organisation's approach to digital skills and how you're currently addressing digital inclusion. There's going to be questions popping up for the tables to prompt discussions, but don't worry, if the conversation goes off onto other things, that's absolutely fine too. So we will set a timer for that discussion for 15 minutes. Then after that, at 14:55, we're going to return to the main stage, where we're going to invite comments from yourselves. For those of you who haven't got stage fright, feel free to put your camera on. Also, if you prefer, just feel free to use the chat function, and then we can sort of, carry on the discussion that way. Around about 3 o'clock, Simon's going to be talking to us then about the IT strategy and communication sort of work that he's been doing at DVLA, but also about taking forward priority 4. Again, if you've got any questions for Simon, please put them in the Q&A tab. And then again, we'll be sort of going on to those tables. The questions are going to be popping up. So again, we can use those as prompts. For information, though, the table discussions aren't going to be recorded or minuted. So if there's anything specific that comes up on your table, feel free to let us know either in the main chat or email Sarah afterwards. So thank you ever so much, everybody. So we're going to kick off. So without further ado, I'll now pass over to Sam, who's going to talk us through an update in terms of what's happening with Newport. So thank you ever so much, Sam.
Good afternoon, all. No pressure, Kath. I joined Newport around about 8 months ago, and I'm responsible for all external projects for Newport City Council. And one of my major projects that I'm looking after at the moment is rewriting and refreshing the digital strategy, which then feeds into a number of the council plans, which feeds into our corporate plan, our workforce strategy, and our local development plan, along with lots of other plans. So as part of our digital strategy work, we've done a number of engagement activities. So that's been internal engagement with heads of service and our services, and also external engagement. And from doing that engagement internally and externally, we found that digital inclusion and digital skills are two key areas that we need to really focus on. Newport being the second highest in Wales for ethnic and minorities and asylum and immigration. And again, in Newport, we have quite a few areas of social deprivation as well. So we have to be mindful that we're leaving nobody behind and everybody is included. So to use a benchmark exercise to see where everybody is within the council in terms of their digital skills, we teamed up with Digital Community Wales and we put together a bespoke audit, a digital skills audit, which we carried out throughout the organisation. We didn't involve our schools in that in this one. It was initially people who work in directly for the council. So there's around about 3,000 staff that were involved in the skills audit. So we bespoke the skills audit together and it was made available through digital platforms across the council. But we really wanted to reach those service areas so that those that produce frontline services such as city services, social services, foster carers, refuse collectors, anybody who's providing a frontline service, we want to ensure that we really reach them as well who are digitally excluded at the moment. So our heads of service and our service managers really did get together. We're really invested. So we produced the digital skills audit in a PDF and a Word document, and we printed a number of them out. And then we shared them across all of those frontline services. And we had a fantastic response. So around about 790 responses were received, which gave us a baseline as to what we need to focus on what in terms of training and development. So I am currently working with HR on the workforce strategy, and we will then be devising training and development programs to ensure that we can upskill everybody within the organisation to where we want them to be. We're also revisiting the role of our digital champions within Newport and giving them a bit more emphasis on working face-to-face and just giving that one-to-one care rather than doing it collectively and collaboratively within a group as well. And we're also revisiting our onboarding and our recruitment. So we want to make sure that we really can give everybody the support that they need initially in onboarding rather than wait until they've settled into the role 3 months in, 4 months in. We want to make sure that we can give them all the support in terms of getting digitally upskilled within their role as well. What we also found was that we've got a lot of people in the community who access council services who haven't got any digital skills, or just simply just make a doctor's appointment, which you now may have to do a Zoom call for or do a doctor's consultation. Again, we teamed up with Digital Community Wales and another partner called East, and we launched a course called a project called Get Connected, which is being delivered in several cohorts across the city, and that's available for staff, available for colleagues and all the citizens and businesses in Newport. It's a 6-week course giving people basic digital skills. We run it across our community hubs, and what we've done is we've recruited people from the community who speak multiple languages, who can support in those community settings on people who have very, very little or no digital skills on how to create an email address, the basic letters on a keyboard, what a shift key means, what a space bar is, and really giving them that basic knowledge and that support that they need to upskill themselves within that. And once they've completed that 6-week course, we are also have teamed up with Adult Community Learning, and Adult Community Learning have got a 20-week digital skills course available to follow up from that. Now, the course is very affordable. It's £15. It's accredited. It runs over 21 weeks. It's an hour a week in a community setting. And if any council employees wish to carry that out or wish to join on that, HR will be funding that as part of their upskilling process as well. So we are working with lots of other partners across Newport. We also sit on the Regional Skills Partnership for Newport as well. So we're consistently working with organisations within Newport to really upskill and get those digital skills to where they need to be within Newport. and it'll be so digital inclusion and digital skills are very high on the agenda of the new strategy. It will be one of our key strategic missions, and there'll be more projects coming out of that in terms of key deliverables within Newport. So what we also found in some of the engagement was some of our foster carers have very little or basic digital skills as well. So they are actually the first pilot of our cohorts, which Digital Community Wales are running for us as well. So we're putting 120 foster carers through the digital skills program, and then it's also then opened up to the general citizens and any council employees that wish to sit in it as well. And we've joined the Alliance as well, and we're working with lots of other partners. So we're working with Coleg Gwent, the University of South Wales, and lots of other third social enterprise groups who are all teamed up to gear towards digital inclusion, digital skills. And that's it from me.
Thanks, Sam. That's really interesting, especially all the work you're doing with foster carers and everything. That's really fascinating. Thank you.
Let's do that. I think there was Catherine in the chat has a question for Sam, but I think what we'll do, we'll come back after discussion, and then Hannah do her bit. Then maybe if people have got questions for Sam and for Hannah, then we can field a few of the questions.
Yeah, I can see Simon's got a question for Hannah.
Oh, there we go.
For Sam, sorry.
Oh, have we? Well, we can bring. Yeah, we can. Do you want to bring them up to the stage now, or do you want to do that at a later point?
Well, I think if we've got a question for Sam, we can do that, and then we can go straight into the tables. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely fine. Yeah, we'll bring Sam. If you can come back up to the stage, and I'll bring up Simon then for the first question. So, is it Simon Cromwell that's got a question?
Reno.
There we go. It's Catherine who's got a question. Catherine, I'm going to bring you to the stage now. Here we go. Great. Catherine, you should be able to turn on your camera now, Catherine, and then join us on the stage.
Okay. Is my mic on?
Yeah, your mic's on. We can hear you. Brilliant.
Okay,
here you go,
cool.
Catherine.
Sam, I'm really interested in what you do. It's I work with DPIA, Displaced Persons in Action. So my focus really is on refugees and asylum seekers, and obviously the big lots of work to do there. One of the things that we're struggling with is access to kit. So how do you actually enable people who have got low skills but also then struggle to actually get the kit? What sort of approach are you taking there? You're on mute.
Mike, okay. So we at Newport, we provide public Wi-Fi in 55 buildings, and we also provide free bus Wi-Fi. We've got 4 community hubs which are in the heart of the social deprivation areas. So we've got Central Hub, which is in the heart of where all the asylum seekers and refugees are. At the moment, we've got high levels of ethnic minorities. So what we've got is a hub there where people can go in, and we've got 2 community development workers based in each hub. So they can go there and access kits. So we've got 10 tablets and 10 laptops in each hub. So if they need, so we can teach them the basic digital skills there, obviously, that will be, because we're also participating at the moment with the health board in helping people get in their COVID passes, because we found that a lot of people are struggling getting their COVID passes who are fully vaccinated. So we've added on an extra week onto our digital communities course, so people can then get their COVID pass as well. But we've also got a loan facility, so we've got 80 tablets that are there for anybody to access on a loan facility as well.
Perfect.
But each hub has quite a high number of laptops and tablets that people can use while they're in the hubs.
Brilliant. Thank you, Sam.
That's okay.
That's great. Thanks for your question, Catherine. I think that's really important as well to understand what sort of access people have got to devices as well. So really important, and it sounds like Newport are well covered from that aspect. So that's great. Is it okay if we bring Simon Reno in, please, Mike, for his question? Thanks, Simon.
Yeah, I've just brought Simon up.
Yeah, thanks. Hi, Sam.
Hi, Simon.
You talked about the surveying across public sector staff, so test digital skills. At what level did you take those skills up to? Was it the essential digital skills sort of point, or did you look at what I would call, using that sort of UK government and what we're doing in Wales, the digital data and technology skills as well? I mean, have you got data on how skilled they're on that level?
So we didn't do anything around DDAT. If I'm honest, because we're part of the WLGA's working group for DDAT. So we're addressing that framework at the moment as part of the working group for WLGA. So the skills were taken up to the standards that have been introduced by Welsh Government. And the survey, the digital audit, is actually pre-populated by Digital Community Wales. What we did is we personalised it by giving an additional 15 questions for Newport to really get to understand which service area it was, so we can identify which service areas need the most attention and training. People were able to put in their job roles if they wanted to share that, and questions like, can they attach a document onto an email, for example, or do they feel safe online when they're using various social media accounts? So it was a large variety. The digital skills audit actually comprises of 37 questions, which addresses lots of different areas of digital skills, and we just overlaid that with 15 bespoke questions for Newport.
Okay, thanks.
Great. Thanks, Simon. Really good question, as always. Thanks very much. Okay, then. Right. So thank you, Sam. I think we're ready to go into the table discussions now. Thank you so much for that. That's great. And Hannah, hopefully you'll be able to join us a little bit later. So that's great.
Okay, that's great. When we go to our tables, just to say, you may be on a table of just one or two of you. So what I would try and do is try and gather around those first couple of rows of tables. So if you find yourself in ones or twos, go and try and join the crowds. And so there's 6 seats per table. So yeah, try and gather and fill those tables as best you can. If you've got any problems during it, then obviously give me a shout. You can, I posted if you click on the calendar icon on the top right, there is just a brief description of the sort of questions that we're going to be asking for these discussions. So in this part of the session, so you can refer to that if you need to. But brilliant, I'll take you all back to the floor now. We'll put a timer on for, 15 minutes for this next bit, Kath?
That'd be great, thanks, yeah.
Great, and then we'll bring Hannah back up after that.
Lovely, thank you.
Okay, cheers.
Thanks. Back. I understand now, I think Hannah has sort of managed to sort out her Wi-Fi issues. Am I right? Hey, brilliant. So you're going to talk us through your program now, which is, let me have a quick look, Newid. So if you could, yeah, that'd be lovely. Thank you ever so much.
Thank you. Mic's on standby just in case I get too jittery or laggy and you can't hear me. I'm sorry. Is it all okay so far? And I'm going to share my screen and hopefully that won't break everything. Sorry, bear with me 1 second. Can you see? Oh, window. Sorry, it wouldn't let me share. Could someone verbally say if they can see it, because I can't see the chat?
Yeah, we can see it, Hannah. Yeah, just yeah, press presentation.
Perfect.
Great.
Okay, I'm going to give it a go and hopefully it will work. Hello, I'm Hannah. I'm the Digital and Innovation Officer at WCVA. And like Kath said, I'm here to talk to you today about Newid, which is a new programme of digital skills and support for the third sector in Wales. So it's Newid Digidol i'r trydydd sector, or Newid Digital for the Third Sector. So what is Newid? Newid is a joint project. It's developed in partnership by WCVA, Wales Cooperative Centre and Promo Cymru. Our aim is to support the third sector with delivering and developing their services in an increasingly digital world. So this is something that's definitely been accelerated by the pandemic and highlighted the need for that support. but it's also demonstrated the potential and benefits of digital transformation as third sector organisations have embraced digital ways of working and adapted their services to online delivery. And the ways we're going to be looking at doing that is looking at the key areas of digital skills. So that's digital skills for voluntary sector staff, digital strategy support, and developing digital services. So this is a new project we launched at the start of November, and this is actually the debut of our branded slides that Promo Cymru have made. So NEWID is a pilot project. This is the first phase of NEWID, hopefully, is a pilot project, and it will run until the summer next year. So we'll be developing and delivering the activities very quickly. But the aim is that this will provide the foundation for a longer term programme of support for the third sector in Wales. We'll also be working closely with others in this space, in particular the Centre for Digital Public Services. Great, so what are our aims? So they are to provide direct support for developing digital skills for needs already identified in the sector. So those are things like cybersecurity, digital safeguarding and digital infrastructure, working with the third sector, CDPS and industry experts to define what good digital services look like and then provide the support needed to achieve that. Provide a legacy of digital skills support that can be utilised in the future and will continue to spread throughout the sector. And embracing a digital culture of openness, sharing and reuse of digital approaches. So I'm going to talk about a little bit about that more in a second. So in relation to that last point, this is something that we in the NEWID group have been calling the digital ecosystem. So this is just a snapshot and is not an exhaustive list, but it's organisations, frameworks, strategies, resources to do with digital that are already out there. And we're very keen at NEWID to make sure that we're utilising these great resources that have already been developed, adding value and providing access for the third sector in Wales where they're struggling to make use of these resources. I'm briefly going to mention the Digital Discovery Report. So this was some research carried out earlier in the year by Promo Cymru and DOTI. They were researching what support is needed by the Welsh third sector with regard to digital. The report had 10 key insights from the research, and there were 14 recommendations for how to support the sector with digital in Wales. And NEWID has been really informed by this research and we'll be working towards those 14 recommendations in the report. So I've got the link down here. I'm guessing we'll be sharing the slides afterwards. If not, I can put the links in the chat, but you can access the report in English and Welsh here. Right, so just a bit more detail about what activities we're currently developing and planning. So we at WCVA are looking at 3 areas of work over the next few months. So we'll be getting new resources for the third sector support Wales's Knowledge Hub on a range of digital topics. If you're not familiar with the Knowledge Hub, it is an online platform for the voluntary sector. It's free to use and it has a lot of courses, resources, information sheets on there. And I've put the link down there. So if you haven't already used it, go have a look. We'll be looking at developing a digital skills and support course for voluntary sector infrastructure organisations. So that is to help them support their members with digital and to really begin providing that, well, building on that support capacity within the third sector. And then later on next year, we'll be running a series of intro to digital events aimed at trustees. Right, I'm going to take a pause before I jump into the Wales Cooperative Centre slide and have a drink. So my colleagues on the operational group for Newid from Wales Co-op Centre and Promo Cymru couldn't be here today. If you do have any questions for them, I've got their contact details and they'll be more than happy to for you to get in touch to ask the questions. But they've provided me with these updates. So Wales Cooperative Centre are looking at developing a baseline assessment tool for the third sector and then providing digital strategy support to go with that. So at the moment, they are combining different streams of research that they have been doing, including research into different digital baseline assessment tools for third sector organisations. So baseline assessment tools are something that already exist for the third sector in Scotland and England. So they'll be looking at developing one geared towards the Welsh sector, and that will be available bilingually. And then to go along, they've already started testing the first draft of this assessment tool with 25 third sector organisations. And going along with that, they'll be developing a community of practice and then working closely with those organisations through their digital journey. Now, Promo Cymru will be supporting the third sector with developing person-centred digital services and improving processes. So they're going to be providing bespoke support to anchor organisations, creating guides to develop digital services which can be shared and adapted across the third sector, supporting organisations that work in similar fields who face a common challenge, and helping the third sector to get better at designing digital services with the needs of people at their core. Great, and I thought I'd just quickly share some of the challenges that we've been working through over the last few weeks. I've split it into 3 sections, but they do all interconnect and influence each other. So the first one is plotting or mapping. So it's referring back to that digital ecosystem that I mentioned earlier and just making sure that we know what's out there and what needs to be utilised, and looking at best practice and finding the gaps and where we can add value. And then where resources already exist, seeing if there's a need for us to provide additional support for the third sector in Wales to be able to access it, or bridges to access that support. And that ties into the next point, which is pitching. So Mark from Wales Cooperative Centre, who is working on Newid, uses a great analogy for pitching the right level of digital support that's needed, and he's always talking about using a sledgehammer to smash a nut. So we need to be mindful that we're providing an appropriate level of support that's not overkill, but is also giving the sector, what organisations in the sector, what they need to get to the right level in terms of digital skills. Which also ties into one size, or better put, one size doesn't fit all. We need to be making sure that we are appealing and catering to the breadth and scale of the third sector in Wales. In Wales, we've got quite a lot of small third sector organisations, and their needs and their capacity is going to be completely different to a larger organisation, and what they need in terms of digital skills and digital transformation. So it's factoring all these 3 things in as we're developing our activities at the moment. So follow along with us. We have a joint blog on Medium, the link is there, where we'll be sharing our experiences of delivering and developing the programme. This is part of us communicating in the open and sharing learning across sectors, not just in the third sector. And we'll also be sharing details of our activities on there as well as they become available. So Nathan from Promo Cymru posted the first blog entry last week, and it's a bit of a summary of the programme and also explaining what we mean when we say digital, and we say digital a lot. Great, and yes, just get in touch if you've got any questions. I've got contact details for all of the organisations up along here, and they'd be more than happy to answer any questions, or if you just want to stay in the loop, yes, please reach out.
Thanks, Hannah. That was absolutely great. Thank you ever so much. I'm really interested in project as well. I'm sure it's going to be a real benefit to people. So thank you for that. It was really good. Does anybody have any questions for Hannah, please? I know Mike's asked if you want to put some in the Q&A. Well, I don't think we do, Hannah. I think unless anything comes, perhaps we can sort of direct them to you as we go along. But thanks ever so much, and that was absolutely great. So lovely.
I'm glad the internet let me present.
It did you proud, yeah, absolutely. Okay,
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Hannah. Bye now. Okay, Simon, can we call you to the stage, please? Simon's is obviously from the IT Strategy and Communications Lead with DVLA. Let me get words right. And Simon's actually going to give us an update on Priority 4, so the work we've been doing as a steering group. So thanks, Simon.
I think next time maybe I won't speak because it seems to confuse you, Kath, my name and the title. Let me just share my screen. Can everybody see that now?
Yeah, we can see that well, Simon.
A verbal yes, if we can. Sorry, folks. Can somebody say yes? If they
yeah, that's great. That's great,
Sorry.
Simon. We can hear you. Yeah, we can see it.
Apologies. Right. Okay. So, yes, since the last network meeting, the steering group have had a couple of meetings, and we meet in subgroups across the priorities. So one of the most talked about priorities at the last meeting, the network meeting, was priority 4, which is around digital skills. So we thought we'd start by giving you an update on this. 1, to obviously share what we've been doing, work in the open, and 2, then give you some time to give some feedback or any thoughts on where we've got to so far. But obviously it's a massive piece of work, so we've just made a start really at a couple of meetings, and what we discussed in the meeting really is what's going on already, what needs to be done, and then how we're going to start doing those things as a steering group and alongside the wider network. So in terms of what's going on already, you've heard a couple of updates today from Hannah around Newid and Sam around the work they're doing, but also obviously the publication of the Welsh Government Digital Strategy, the publication of the Digital Competence Framework, the great work going on in Digital Communities Wales, Simon Reno and his team in Centre for Digital Public Services, some of the work they're doing. We'll mention it a little bit later again, some of the work that they're doing. The Regional Skills Partnership with Business Wales are in place to drive investment based on local and regional need. The Companions, Champions and other schemes. The large organisations, obviously such as ourselves, in the and then the organisations in the DIAW Network, local authorities, Social Care Wales, etc. Myself, obviously working with DVLA, and we have a large IT team, so we run in development programs and apprenticeships to build our talent pipeline, but also branching out into digital inclusion initiatives like a laptop for schools initiative we've started, and a commerce for code scheme, which we're starting in the new year. And obviously Disability Wales and Digital Communities Wales running a 6-week course to build disabled people's confidence when using digital. So that's a whistle-stop tour of some of the things that are happening and some of the things we discussed when we were talking in the steering group. So lots going on. Obviously the challenge for us is how to make sure that we're more joined up and how we influence as a steering group and network and support each other. So what are the outcomes we're looking for? So just as a reminder, in terms of priority 4 outcomes, every adult seeking work has access to appropriate ongoing basic digital skills, face-to-face where required. So obviously you can't offer learning resources to people who haven't got the technology or the skills to access them. So the digital skills audit of employees across Wales, businesses, employers across Wales train and upskill their workforce in core digital skills, and that city, region and growth deals strategy consider how they can promote and invest in basic digital skills. Some of the things we discussed about desired outcomes for the network, I think a big discussion point in the last network meeting was around, I mentioned DVLA doing a laptop for school scheme. I think a number of organisations in the network have talked about doing it, but it's linking that up with the digital skills provision. So it's okay giving out kit, but have people got the skills required, even basic digital skills, to use them. So I think one of the outcomes for the network as a whole is linking these schemes with the right kind of provision and making sure that access meets the requirement of all groups, including disabled people. So again, this is a summary. We've had some long conversations and there's some detailed notes which we'll start to share as they build the pages on the Digital Inclusion Alliance Wales pages. But these are some of the headlines, some of the actions that we thought we would start to take and work towards with the steering group and the network. So the Centre for Digital Public Services is committed to, in this year, leading discovery or research of maps to digital inclusion activities being delivered by multiple organisations across Wales. So what we thought is that Digital Inclusion Alliance Wales can be a key partner in that scoping and see what this research mapping should do regarding current effort around addressing digital inclusion in Wales, including the mapping of current digital skills provision. If it is found there's a need to understand the current provision of digital skills training alongside the digital inclusion initiative. So really bringing that inclusion initiatives and the digital skills piece together. And we thought we could play a big part in that. Get a better understanding of what the city region deals are doing around digital skills. So we know that there's a lot of great work happening, but we're not sure, we haven't got a clear understanding of what's going on. So start to gain a better understanding of that. In terms of the minimum for Wales, it's vital the creation of an indicator is accompanied by programmes to understand the skill levels. We talked about obviously mapping of digital skills, they're very much interlinked. So as a steering group, we'll use our currently held positions on boards and steering groups to influence decisions made about this indicator. We can also look to support Welsh Government in the timely creation of this indicator and making sure those two again are intertwined. It's some clarity around digital skills, distinguish between digital skills for work, essential digital skills, and inclusion barriers. So we are going to look to undertake to get a better understanding from Welsh Government of what skills framework will be applied when measuring whether people have the skills to be considered digitally included in Wales. And then the talk about a skills audit across Wales, we can encourage the members of our network and steering group, the public sector members anyway, to consider doing a skills audit, but link it to the creation of the minimum digital living standard as well. So we've got that understanding of digital skills across Wales as the public sector is obviously Wales's largest employer. And there's also a possible data source linked to training schemes of public sector employees, looking at who hasn't taken any courses and why. So really, again, bringing that together. We as a network can foster collaboration between partners to support each other and create better links. Again, we go back to the device data, loan and gifting schemes to make sure they're linked to digital skills initiatives and provision. And then the final one is creating a briefing about what is possible and what is available to support this priority, including the clarifying the level of government where any related policy change is required. So that was kind of a whistle-stop tour of what we've done. Again, it's going back to what's going on already, what needs to be done, and how we're going to do those things. And I said, this is just our initial thinking. The group that I was involved in involved Hannah, who spoke earlier, involved Nick from BT, and Aileen from Disability Wales. And this is, like I said, this is just us as a steering group, as a subgroup, starting to formulate our thinking. So happy to take on any comments and have a discussion outside the meeting today. But yeah, happy to hand over to any questions that you may have. So back to Kath, I think.
Thanks, Simon. That's great. I don't think any have come up in the Q&A yet, and certainly nothing in the chat. So I don't know if we want to go into our discussion groups for now, and then perhaps if some questions come up, Simon, we can sort of relay those back to you after the discussion session. Unless, Mike, you've got any updates?
There is a question from Marco.
You can bring Mark. I'll bring Marco to the stage. It'd be nice for him to say hello. So, one sec, just bear with me, Marco. You should get a little note now to come to the stage. I make it sound grand when I say stage. It just looks the same to many.
I know, when you mentioned stage, you give me the heebie-jeebies.
Hi, Marco.
Hi, Marco.
Oh, Marco. You were in silence, Marco. It doesn't change because it's not saying you're on mute. Oh, well, we can see you, Marco. I don't know. Sometimes we have troubles if it's on a bit of a mobile device when we come to the stage. But what we'll do, Simon, if you're okay to answer Marco's question, we can see him and he can.
Well, my thoughts personally are obviously that user-centered design and human-focused services are obviously the way forward, and that's obviously something that's built into the way that we deliver services in DVLA, doing a lot of user research across the piece. And I think from the Centre of Digital Public Services, I see a lot of the same thinking being applied across the work that they're doing. So I'm sure Simon Reno would be nodding alongside me. So yes, as a steering group, it's definitely the way that we need to move forward as a network organisation steering group. It's putting the user at the centre of that. And I think that's why we talk in some of that earlier about not just making the training available online, but doing it face-to-face, because some people won't have the access to that training, so it's no good to them. So it's looking at how we get out into the community, how we work across the hubs and networks that already exist to deliver that training, how and when and where it's needed.
Can you hear me now?
I can now, Marco, yes.
Oh, good. Okay. So, yeah, I ask because it's interesting. It's the area we tend to work with more. And what I come across time and time again is that the way it's presented to many people, digital information, can be so confusing that it's beyond their skill. It's actually presented in a way that makes it so difficult for someone to understand that it's beyond having the skill. So I think it's almost the other side of the coin, is in terms of making sure that we all produce and think about how we produce things, and so that it does make it more intuitive and understandable for the end user to use. You know, an end user shouldn't have to be poring over something to make it work. They should be fairly straightforward and work, and not. So sometimes it's not just about the skills; it's about how we present that to be understandable by someone.
Yeah, and I think it's at it's at the heart of our thinking as organisations within this Digital Inclusion Alliance. So yes, I think that would be at the forefront of what the steering group would want to see across the work we're doing.
Yeah, one more thing I think someone mentioned in our group as well is the idea that it's almost don't get rid of stuff that we know is working, add to it. So if we know the telephone's working, we don't get rid of the telephone, you just add all the digital to it and not pull away the underpinning thing that actually someone from a very excluded background may actually rely on. So it's for us not to think, not to forget to actually keep those core things in place and build on them, as opposed to build things and take the rugs away before people are fully ready.
Yeah, I think you've got to, whatever's got in place has got to be better to replace it, rather than just because it's online, try to adopt that way. If something works better, then don't replace it until you've got something which meets the needs of those people who are using that service before and is accessible to them in all ways.
Great. I don't know what to do now.
You can just turn your camera and mic up then.
Oh, okay.
Thanks, Marco. That was great. It was really good as well to bring those discussions to the fore. So from that aspect then, we're going to move back now into table discussions for 10 minutes or so, if that's okay. And really the questions we'd like you to consider are, what do you think about the steering group's recommendations for the next steps? Are we missing anything? What do you think needs to be done around this priority that's not been covered? So again, there'll be questions popping up on the tables to prompt discussions. But as we said before, if you go in to discuss other things, that's absolutely fine too. And I think now that Mike's going to start the timer again for us. So thanks, Mike.
I think, what we're going to do here, we're just going to experiment a bit with Remo, is that we're going to do, I'm going to press a magic button which says shuffle guests. So it's actually going to shuffle people around so you can get to see some new faces. So when we go back to the tables, I will press a shuffle guests and it will shuffle you all around. So I'm hoping it doesn't spread you out too far, but yeah, try and gather afterwards of that. So it's going to be about a minute of chaos for a bit, but we'll be able to see some new faces rather than just being with the same table of 6. So we'll give it a go anyway.
Okay, just before we do, I'm conscious that in terms of the recommendations of the steering group, is it worthwhile, Simon, just dropping them into the chat just to remind people, just some points off his presentation, if that's okay, Simon? Yeah, there's a few thumbs up going there.
Yeah.
So I'll drop in some of the points that I had on the
Yes,
slide.
please. I think just to focus people in terms of what the ambitions were in terms of the steering group, just so we can get feedback on that, if that's okay.
Great.
No problem.
Brilliant.
And we'll set 10 minutes for this one. So I know we're a little bit behind time, but hopefully if people are all right, just we might have a bit of a 5-10 minute delay to this, not delay, but running over time, if that's okay for everyone. If you have to leave, fine, but if you can stay on for a bit longer, that would be great. All right, I'll take everyone back to the tables now.